Going live. Here we go. Good morning. Top chat. We're here. And it's Friday morning. And yeah, I was not expecting to come back and do some live streaming, but yeah, I kind of want to get back into it. So hello, good morning. Hope you're doing good. Where are you in the world? And how are you in the world today? I am in a very, very cold Selbridge, County Kildare. And yeah, I've been really, really busy in the last couple of months. And I've been wanting to get back into doing a couple of these live streams and saying hi. And yeah, letting everybody know what's been going on. So I've been kind of focused a lot over on Substack, and Substack is my new kind of social media obsession-ish thing, and it's basically a newsletter platform. And I used to write a blog back in and around 2017, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. And for some reason or another, I kind of went off the boil and I got more into trying to keep things ticking over with short form videos on Instagram and TikTok and things like that. And to be honest, it just felt so exhausting and chasing the algorithm. And the last few months, I just kind of wanted to take stock of how to show up online. And yeah, Substack was the first place to start. And then I've seen a few people who were recommending to tie in your Substack with your YouTube and slightly longer form videos. And I've been trying to make a few of them. So I've put a few of them out in the last few weeks. If you haven't checked them out, please do. But the other thing that I have been beavering away on is templates. So the newsletter this week is all about templates. I am just going to check my volume level here and stuff. Yeah. Okay, it's all good. Templates. So templates are, it's kind of a revelation for me, really. I didn't know a whole lot about templates until I started learning about them in college for orchestral templates. And I didn't know a whole lot about orchestral writing and where even to start. And templates were the kind of natural fit. See, there's free orchestral sample libraries that you can get now. And it's how to manage those orchestral libraries. And even in score order, it's like, where do you start? So if you're interested in film scoring at all, templates are, they're going to be essential for both learning and your kind of bread and butter project work. But also for me, it was creatively quite liberating to start making these templates. Because what I found was, and I do this, like whether it's orchestral writing or whether it's songwriting or whatever, I tend to throw a load of ideas together and try and sift through all the rubble of crazy ideas until I can kind of settle in on one direction. And even on when I get that direction, that can tend to change. And I've just realized now my camera is slightly offset at an angle. It looks like I'm in an old Batman villain's hideout. So I'm not going to fix it now because I'm already live. So yeah, so it's been really eye-opening for me. And what I wanted to do today in our coffee and composing session, even though I don't have coffee with me today, if you have coffee, here's to you. And I want to jump into Logic Pro, my favorite, my DAW of choice. And I am going to, oh, did I delete my helper piano? That's not very good. Hang on, let me jump out of this for a second, and then I'm going to open up a different session just to kind of give you an idea. Yes. Okay, it's just loading here. Bear with me. Bear with me. And boom. Okay. So this is from one of the tracks in the latest video, the opening section with the I was trying to go all cinematic. As you can tell, I failed miserably. But yeah, let's before we jump into the actual music part, let's talk you through some of the things that are in the template. Now, the timing of this I got either very right or very wrong, because Spitfire Audio have just released a brand new free version of their Spitfire's symphonic library. And if you don't have that, don't sleep on it, because it's free and, you know, you should check it out. I just realized I can't see the YouTube chat if I come up here, but I'll check it in a few minutes. I don't think it's ridiculously busy this morning anyway. Okay, get rid of you. Okay, so I've broken it up into sections. So we have our woodwinds, brass, percussion, pitch percussion, I have a choir, strings. Now I added a choir for this particular piece because, you know, it was fun. I have what's called, this is kind of like a trade secret in film scoring, is the super helper, which is just a synth bass which jumps on the bottom and give your low end real kind of body. But I'll get into more of that later. So we have woodwinds, brass, percussion, pitch percussion, choir, strings, super helper. So fairly basic orchestral layout. Now, like, obviously you can go further into these things and add synths, and you can add pianos and all kinds of, and any live instruments you want as well. But just for the sake of kind of, you know, expedience, this is the template I have at the moment. So let's talk you through what you get here. You've woodwinds, piccolos. So each of these are longs and shorts. Now, due to the nature of free orchestral libraries, you don't get too many articulations. That's kind of what you're paying for, is overall articulations and mic placement and all kinds of stuff. I currently have all these loaded to the BBC Symphony Orchestra Discover. Not Discover. Discover is the new one. This is the slightly older version, so the BBC Orchestra. And here you have all your orchestral layout, which really helps if you're creating a template. The position of all these in the stereo field will give you an idea of where to pan your tracks to. So the other thing is, if I jump over here onto the mix window, you're panning. See it here. All of the I'm not doing a very good job of selling. I've just launched these two templates for sale on my website. That's kind of why I'm making these videos. But I'm not like the way the American people are really good at selling you stuff, because everything's for sale. Anyway, I digress. So the panning on this particular template is in line with where they would be positioned in a concert hall. So, for example, you've got your first and second violins, you got your violas and cello, and you got your double basses here. and then they're all panned accordingly and grouped into the sections that they're in. So top in orchestral score is woodwinds. So you've got here running from left to right. You've got your piccolos, your flutes, your oboes, clarinets, and bassoons. So this is what we got here. You can make them same color if you want. Color is not my strong point, so I didn't really do that. And then your articulations, which was what I kind of initially brought you in here for. Let's close this. Yeah. You've got your longs. This is not turned on, so yeah, never mind. You've got your longs and your shorts. So this is set to longs, and this one should be set to shorts, like that. I'm sorry, I'm still in the. I've highlighted this, but I've changed that. Yeah, so we've got piccolo longs, piccolo shorts, flute longs, flute shorts, oboes, clarinets, and bassoons. And that's all in your woodwind section there, which I am going to mute for now. This should not play. No, it does play. Anyway. Okay, so we'll mute that section. Next up, we got your brass. So same idea again. We have our trumpets, our French horns, trombones, tubas. And let's jump in here and see where they are in the kind of stereo field. So we've got trumpets, trombones, and bass trombones. I didn't include any bass trombones in this template, but feel free to add them in if you like. Tubas, and then French horns are over here on the left hand side, because yeah, it's to do with, you know, how loud they are, where they're perceived in the stereo field, and everything like that. So you can really nerd out on orchestral position and panning and stereo placement. And Logic even has a feature for stereo placement. I can't remember exactly where it is now, but you could look into that if you want a kind of a more broad stereo field in your headphones. I kept it fairly straightforward because I wanted this template to be very kind of workhorse day to day. It will get you through a project, even out of just a very basic level. So there's your brass. Next up we have percussion, split into high, mids, and lows, although there's no dedicated high, mids, and lows. This is my untuned percussion, and here we are in the back. So funnily enough, your percussion section also includes like things like celestes and mallets and marimbas and anything like that. And then you have your pitched, which is timpani, pianos, all that kind of stuff. So that's there. Next up included is a choir section. You can preload the Logic choir into this if you like. Soprano, alto, tenor, bass. I'm using actually a paid plugin for this one. This is just because I put it in for this particular piece of music. Now let me jump out to the chat. Nobody's chatting. Then move your choir, and then we're into strings. And strings, again, we've got slightly more articulations in the free version with the strings, because strings really, that's where everybody kind of goes first when you're writing. For any kind of media stuff is straight to strings. Everybody does that. So if we have a look at the plugin, we've got a choice of 4. We've got longs, shorts, pizzicato, and tremolo. Now I included them all because they all have their place. And then we have this, what I call the super helper, which is an ES2 with a very plain sine wave. Very boring, but what it does is, if I jump here and I'm just going to solo the bass, what the bass does in this, the bass shorts, is it? Let's have a look. Yeah, so I have this bass line doing. So fairly plain Jane. And I'm just going to copy and put it in from here actually. So what the super helper does is it will double up Now I realize that I probably shouldn't have started with the bass when giving this, because a lot of people be watching this on your iPhone, but trust me, if you've got stereo monitors at home or you were sitting in a cinema, this would be shaking your butt. So we have our plain sine wave super helper, which is a trade secret. Get a really plain sounding sine wave. I don't know if you can hear that all right, but it really adds depth and sub to your overall mix. And yeah, it's the things they don't tell you about when you're putting together templates. Then I have, so I can automate my reverb. I've put it on a separate channel. But each of these, if we go back to, whoops, wrong one. If we go back to our mix window, each of these are all routed to bus 7, which is a dedicated reverb. Now, all of these are stock or free. So within this template, this is all achievable just by having Logic. So having Logic and an internet connection and a little bit of memory will get you kind of everything you need to get started on orchestral scoring. Now, if you're feeling like you want to skip that part, this particular template, minus the actual composition, is available. And I will put the link in my description of this particular live stream. And there is an introductory half price sale, and that'll last right through till after Black Friday, which is next week. So if you want to jump on it and then get in here and go messing around, this is what it's all about. The only thing you need to do is download your free sample library of choice. This is an older version. This is a BBC sample library. I would go to Spitfire and get their Symphony Discover library, which is free now, or also Orchestral Tools. Berlin Orchestra is also really, really good too. So your compositions will sound better than this one, which is good for you. And the last two tracks I have here, while I was doing some video editing, I added in an actual click, a printed click, which is very boring. And also I have an audio of a clock ticking, which I quantized. And then everything's in. So I'll show you how I approach this particular track. Let me just double check. Nobody's here. Okay, nobody is here, but I assume somebody's going to watch this on a replay, and We're going to edit it to include with the templates. So if you're here live, you're seeing this in real life. Welcome, welcome. And if you're here on the replay, also welcome. Feel free to drop a comment or any questions, because I'll keep an eye on all this stuff. So I will give you a listen to. Let me give you a listen to the thing from start to finish, and then I will go through how I got here. So I'll just unmute everything. I won't bother with the ticking clock because that kind of needs the context of. Okay, let me just do that. I'm just going to crank it up. Okay, this is called La Folia. Marvelous. Okay, I'll turn that down. So pretty straightforward. I don't know if straightforward. So let's just. I don't know why my harp wasn't unmuted. Yeah, that should have been there in the last one. Anyway, now I am going to unmute my pianos because this is where I start, and I think this was the first iteration of it. So with the piano, I used the regular Logic Pro stock grand piano, which doesn't sound terrible, I don't think. But have a listen. So the melody and the chords came from all on the piano. Okay, and then it repeats. So if you couldn't tell already, I was probably watching Traitors, which is kind of what I was going for. So this cue was kind of supposed to be a Traitors style cue. I don't know if anyone watches that show. So what I did then was I split out the chords into the various sections. So let's start with the strings. Actually, what I did first of all was I split the chords and the melodies. So it was really just chords and melodies and some percussion. I know that's what all music is really anyway, but all the sections were split into, you're either doing a melody part or a chordal part. So I got this interlocking kind of figure in the woodwind. Let's just start with the woodwinds. So I just split the chords up into an interlocking figure. One goes up and one goes down. So that's on the flute and the piccolo. Now, then the clarinets Still on that interlocking figure. Here we go. And then joined by just the violas. So I paired the viola, clarinet, flute, and piccolos. Then I wanted a little bit more pace in the rhythm. So I added this celeste. I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce it, but I really rolled off a lot of the resonance on it. I wanted it to be like a percussive instrument. So you have this kind of idea. I don't know if you can hear that actually. The Celeste is one of my favorites, but it gets an awful lot of pushback from directors and people I'm working with because it sounds too Christmassy. I don't know. What's your thoughts? Is the Celeste a specifically a Christmas instrument? The other thing I did was I added a harp. Now the harp, I just borrowed the chords from the piano part, and how I split them up was I came into MIDI MIDI effects and used the arpeggiator, which you can set to any kind of rhythmic variant. So if you want those harp swirls, it sounds a bit intense. So I just wanted a nice eighth note figure. So in the percussion, the tuned percussion, we have a celeste and a harp that they're doing the same job as the interlocking woodwinds, but kind of giving it a little bit more drive and rhythm. Which I think sounds pretty good on its own, really. I think it sounds nice. And then next up we have the melody lines. So this is where I divided them up into the longs and shorts. Now you can do this by key switching either, so key switching is where you change your articulation by pressing one of the lowest notes on the keyboard. So you turn it on, you get longs, you turn it off, you get shorts. So that means that you can put your long and short articulations onto one MIDI track. I like to have a little bit more control. So this melody is really straightforward. And I even took it off all the strings. See, I had it here on the string. So I left the cello, but I kept it to the oboe and the bassoons doing this melody. But I kept the cello in just to give it a little bit of help. So I like to do that when I'm orchestrating, which is pairing woodwinds and one or more of the strings. So I like the cello doing something that the woodwinds is doing, or the violas and woodwinds. I like to pair those together. Proper orchestrators hit me up is this a good approach or not? I like interlocking woodwinds, and I like pairing something from the strings and something from the woodwind. I like for one family to be kind of, involved with another family. That sounds really bad, but yeah. Now this little section, dum ba dum bum bum, I've added in the violins just to give that a little bit of help before we push on to the melody coming in a bit stronger. And I will also turn on our bass helper here. So as it continues, so because this is a free library, you can start to hear some of the limitations of the MIDI within this. Now, what you can do, as say, if you're trying to develop your style, you can start pairing these. So say you have the free Spitfire library and also you have the free Orchestral Tools library. You can pair them together and you can double up on your woodwinds. So you could have your Spitfire library woodwinds doubled up with your Berlin Orchestra or your Orchestral Tools. Why can't I say that? I even made a mistake in the video when I was trying to make it. There we go. Anybody saying hello? I'm just checking the chat here to make sure I'm not alone. So you can pair those up, and that'll help blend to give a sense of realism. But some of these strings, you can start to hear the limitations there, and even with good expression and dynamic mod wheel work, it can be hard to really push through and make it sound very authentic, but I don't think it sounds too bad. And so if we listen to all that together from the start, let's just turn off these solos. There is probably a shortcut to doing this. Logic Pro users, help me out. So the first section with the interlocking woodwinds and the melody without the piano. Even though the piano does sound kind of nice. Okay, let's talk about that. So then we're into our big section. So to get this sounding a little bit more cinematic and big, we move to percussion. So I have a triangle doing highlighting some accents on the melody. And you don't even notice it, but when you bring it out and solo it, it just adds that high end. And they're the two extremes I find of subby low end, not being too kind of muddy, but being really strong and powerful, and then the brightness and excitement of really high end. I'm talking about frequency range here. Like high end adds brightness and excitement. Low end adds when it's used well, adds power and body. So what you want is you want power and body, but also brightness and excitement. And I find that kind of high pitched percussion or unpitched percussion can get you that excitement. That and like high woodwinds, strings, I find even when they go up super high, there's a mellowness to them. Anyway, this is all subjective to how you feel about your own kind of orchestral choices. But yes, this is a triangle. Then we have the heavy hitters, timpani. Oh, not yet. These aren't the timpani. This is just a snare and a crash. There's super loud decay on the crash. Which I quite like, super long decay on the crash. My friend Pete, who is an amazing producer, would not be happy with me right now, letting those crashes ring out. Talking about frequency range. And then we have the timpani. So I match the timpani, I think, with what's going on in the bass, and then I just doubled it up an octave because you can do that in MIDI land. So there's a big long decay on those timpanis as well, giving it just that extra power and feel. And what I did then was I doubled that up in a choir to give it that. I don't know why I left out the soprano. That happens sometimes. This is both the joy of templates and also my own personal style of composition. Is I tend to borrow things from other sections and put them in new sections, and I'll change around melodies on the fly, and this is what happens. You lose the soprano part for some reason. I could not explain why it's not there, but it's not. So that's all the extra elements that come in there for that last outro section. Once more through the whole thing. So that's pretty much it. That is what is available to you all for free as long as you have Logic Pro. Or if you want to buy the template and, just add in your own instruments, you can get there fairly easily as well. So let me jump back onto this one. And I'm just going to close this. So I can see, somebody was on. Yeah, come say hi in the chat. And, I'm muted. Yeah, okay. Cool. Let me find some things. So I should have really put these in at the start. Come say hi on Substack. And also, this should be live now. Okay, I need new artwork. But hey, it's a work in progress, I'm still learning all these things. So, come and, check it out. So, I don't think the next few weeks are going to be as intense in terms of putting things out. So I put out 3 videos on YouTube last week in a stack. It was called a content wall. And I put out a new video today and put out the new templates, which are available as of now. So if you've been going through this and you want to try some orchestral scoring and you're not really sure how to get set up with a template, you can get mine for half price. And there's 2. So that one was the orchestral template. That's kind of like the workhorse getting started. You'd probably get a project over the line using those libraries. Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. And the other template I made is a bit more genre specific. So next week on Coffee and Composing, I am going to be going through that one. It's there in the links. You can go check it out. There's a track called Flynn, and taken from the character in Tron. Daft Punk, their soundtrack to Tron Legacy, whichever that one was. So I've tried to get close to that in terms of what's on that template. So stock Logic synthesizers, so the ES2 and the retro synth, and kind of John Carpenter-y in a way. So there's still some orchestral elements in it. I think I put in brass and strings plus a synth section, but it's a bit more genre specific. So the idea behind this is kind of just maybe more than twofold, but 2 main reasons. The first reason is templates let you start from a creative jumping off point. So your template is ready to go, so you're able to just start writing music. So you're not going down the rabbit hole of library doom scrolling for VSTs and all that kind of stuff. So that's the first reason. And the second reason is when you're putting together your template, that it can be project specific. So your template just doesn't have to be just orchestral. It can be a combination of all of your favorite virtual instruments, any kind of audio instruments that you're planning on recording. You can always route that. So if you have a favorite guitar and a favorite microphone, you can have your signal chain already done. Now, there's a little bit more involved in that, but the more you know about what it is that you like and you can put in a template, the quicker you can use that in a practical sense and just start writing with it. You know, that's the point of all these things. So that's and I do enjoy the other part of it. I enjoy the library scrolling, and I enjoy getting a palette together. And another thing about templates as well is if you're making a template, say you're making a synthesizer template, so you have your orchestral parts and then your synthesizer parts, so it's kind of a hybrid template. A lot of the time you'll be tweaking sounds in a synthesizer and you go, oh, that's cool. And then you move on and you don't save it. It doesn't take a whole lot to just hit save, and your settings are saved in the synthesizer. So it's your own personal instrument to go back to whenever you want. So it's kind of separating two processes. It's the process of the musical compositional process plus the technical production process. You're trying to kind of separate those two into defined spaces. Because I think when a project comes in, once your palette is established, you want to be able to have the plot and the thematic ideas inform what it is you're going to be writing about. So, yeah. So I am going to sign off now, but please check out the newsletter and come say hi. And comment on this video or the other video, which I am also going to link now. I'm going to be a link person because I'm been trying to get better at doing this whole YouTube thing. Here it is. Okay, templates. Share. And I am also going to link this. Where are you? Here. Cool. So, yeah, jump in, use one of those links and say hello, or just leave a comment and tell me what you think. And if there's anything else that I can cover on templates or in Logic Pro or on film scoring or anything like that, let me know. Thanks for checking out the video. I really appreciate it. And and subscribe to the channel too. So click a link, subscribe to the channel, say hi in the newsletter. And next week we're going to be doing another template on the sci-fi kind of genre-y specific template. See you then.